think it works for me. Don't see any comments. That's not working.
Yeah, it must have been me. But here we go. Lights out.
Yeah, so they are about to go. We have Simar out in front, of course. I see a very quick Team ASD then. And as I try to find all the cars, it's a pretty good run from Chacot then as well. And Simar tries to hold on by keeping the inside, but Chacot very mighty speed on the outside.
Ooh,
we see a couple of drivers
off.
going off. I see Team ASD going wide. I see Vega going wide.
Samuel went deep into the corner. He got bumped. He was in the middle of a 3 wide. Got pushed out. Chacot got away.
Oh, another driver going off. That's an Audi. Is it LSX or anything? I'm not sure. Tries to rejoin very carefully. Most drivers then getting through the snake. See Sultan going a bit off the track.
Trias disconnected from the server. I'm not sure if that was a DC or a rage quit.
And Simar then having a bit of a poor start compared to Chacot, who's now all the way out in front by quite a mile. But Simar immediately under pressure from Rune Janssens as well as Adder. And indeed a hard tire for Cortex. And Adder then right on the tail of Janssens. Tries to have a look, but he's pretty far away to make a move on him. Pretty difficult track to overtake, I must say.
Yeah, it's all about getting those good exits onto the long straights. Some of these corners you don't. Oh no, Adder!
Adder going wide then, looking so well in the qualifying session, and then after the first lap he goes off and loses many places. And rejoins currently in 9th place, but he will lose another place or 2. And Van der Zalm under attack from Glubczynski. Oh, and brakes very late and hits the rear of Glubczynski, then goes wide almost into the grass and then hits Adder. And Adder defending from Glubczynski now on the inside and then the outside of turn 3. And Adder loses place. Well, lots of things happening there. Looks like the health of the stream is back, so that's very fortunate, luckily. And Sultan then with a very quick Lamborghini on the outside of Frits van der Zalm through the snake. And has the edge on him, so 12th place for Sultan. And Simar out in front still under pressure from Rune Janssens, though the McLaren doesn't often have the best exit speed. And with such a long straight he needs to get a good slipstream. And slipstream can help you, but can it be enough for him?
Might have it.
And Simar very late on the defense.
He does have the preferred line there, yeah. Rune smartly backs off of that.
Yeah, we often see Rune do things very cleverly and thinking ahead, minding his own race a bit, not getting too greedy, and looks like he does that again. Ooh. Pretty wide. Well, for Ronnie Brunson, I think it was.
And someone missed the turn going through roller coaster. It was deep in there. Looks like Cortex. I think he might have missed his braking point there.
Yeah, it's pretty slow through Hawk Pen and gets overtaken around the outside by Pavlovic. So already 3.5 seconds out in front is Chacot after 2 laps. And Lorenzetti on Glubczynski now. I don't know where Lorenzetti came from. Are the drivers around him a bit quicker perhaps, because they were in 12th place, they were a bit down. And I think Lorenzetti then losing some places may have been lucky to stay out of the carnage on the first turn. And Sultan having a look on Adder, but nothing he can do at the moment. And again, onto the back straight then. It's quite a train behind Simar. and fastest by quite a bit. So on the previous lap, it was Chacot who was faster by over a second compared to Simar. So that's a 45.7 for Chacot. Still, mind you, with 40 kilograms. And Apex Police on the attack on Max Wandel. Going down the hill onto the roller coaster and takes the place from Max Wandel in the Ferrari. Seems to settle down a bit. When a Grift on Alex, and then when a Grift has to defend, but Alex hits him, and that goes wrong for quite a couple of drives. Apex Police is involved in that as well, and very unfortunate. ACRL then I think lost a place as well. Apex Police lost a bit, and Alex now rejoining the track finally in 25th place. Don't know what happened. That might have been a lag if you look at the weirdness of the contact. Not something you would imagine. It's not a braking zone or anything.
Oh, blame. Way off.
Yeah. So he joins the track right in front of... that is Rob Lewis, isn't it? Yeah, there he is.
Someone else lost behind him. I'm not sure if they were trying to dodge him rejoining, but they are firmly in the middle of the infield there.
Yeah, there's the yellow car of that is
Phantom.
Phantom, you're right.
Rob Lewis up 8 positions right now in 7th place.
Very solid driving from him then in the opening laps of this race.
Oh, and as I said, I almost jinxed him as he gets rear-ended, but he does a nice job holding on to that.
Still 6/10 quicker is Chacot out in front, and then Rob Lewis on Blame on the inside. Can he brake later? It does look like he can on the inside still. Very careful, both drivers trying not to hit each other, of course, but then it looks like Blame will have the advantage for the next turn 3. And Rob Lewis slots back in, tries to play it smart, tries to drive a better line, goes a bit wide. You see the drivers are trying to use as much of the track and a little more to just gain as much speed and lap time as they can, and then Blame has the slightly better exit. And we have some weird thing going on. It shows that Ruvik is suddenly in front. I don't think he is. He might have pitted. Indeed he has. Another driver going off. And that is Glubczynski. Glubczynski shows him in 17th place. Didn't have the best of laps earlier and lost 5 and a bit seconds on the previous lap. So he's now all the way in the front of the pack, but he's a lap down, I think. So that's very unfortunate for him. Is he though? No, he's not a lap down. It's ACRL in front of him, and Glubczynski having a look. And Rob Lewis, Blame and Edda then fighting for 6th place. And Rob Lewis defending from Edda. Previous lap, of course, Rob Lewis was attacking on Blame, but now it's Edda who's doing the attacking. Into the snake with turn 7, turn 8, and then turn 9. It's a bit weirdly numbered, but there they go. In turn 10, which is South Bend. Bit of oversteer for Edda, almost loses it, does he? Saves it, by the looks of it, but then under pressure from Albert Sultan.
That's going to be rough going down that back straight with that Lambo behind them.
Yeah, the McLaren is of course not the quickest car on the straight, especially not on the exits, but looks like he's pretty far ahead of Sultan, and if he can drive it smart, then maybe he can stay in front, but Sultan attacking on Edda, on the inside he goes, and Edda then finally has to give up the position, but Sultan goes wide, no, he saves it, but again loses a place. We have Ace Rod on the soft tire and Cortex on the hard tire, and apart from that everyone is on the medium tire. Frits van der Zalm also then went in the pits and race over for him. Don't know what happened. Do you know what happened?
No, I didn't see anything. I was wondering the same. Also, I noticed Milos Pavlovic. He's also, his race is finished as well, so I'm not sure if they're separate incidents or they're related somehow.
Yeah, Pavlovic by the looks of it went out in lap 2 and then Rufix and Van der Zalm in lap 4, so maybe something happened between them. So Simar is still about half a second a lap slower than Chacot. They seem pretty equal in qualifying session, and with a difference this big you might think that they are on different strategies, where Simar might go for the splash and dash and Chacot will do a full 20 something second pit stop. So if Simar then can stay within roughly 10 or 15 seconds, then he might have a chance for the lead by the end of the race, as the pit opens in 3 minutes. And we can start seeing some strategies unfolding.
Calamine caught up to Rune in a hurry. He's now, Rune's under pretty good pressure now.
Calamine, of course, in the Audi, as Rune Janssens has a bit of a twitch and then goes off the track in the last turn. And Calamine then on the attack. Rune Janssens defending on the inside line for the turn 1. Turn 1 which is horseshoe. On the outside goes Calamine, braking pretty late, tries to cut.
I think he's got him. Yeah. Yeah, in the McLaren, you really can't afford to have a bad exit just because the straight line speed isn't there.
And on the straight is two Ferraris fighting. That's Ace Rod and Apex Police for 19th place. And there's quite a couple of Ferraris there. But Apex Police on the inside, on Ace Rod. Gonna go for the overtake, and Cortex watching on as well. And it looks like Ace Rod then struggling a bit. Might be the temperature. Temperature of the track is currently, of the air is 26 degrees. Should be territory for medium tires, so I think his tires might be overheating, especially on the rears for Ace Rod. And Cortex surely will be going for a splash and dash then. So currently in 21st place, but he might be able to improve further down the race. Oh, a bit wide for Ace Rod. An attack from Cortex. And Cortex tries to go on the inside. Ace Rod barely give him in space, but goes a bit wide on the exit. And then Cortex, who has the better exit, and side by side they goes on the back straight.
That should be enough for him.
Ace Rod so far holding on. Such a long straight, and Cortex then in front. Hugs the inside like it's his favorite granny. And 19th place for Cortex. Simar holding on, although we saw Chacot setting a fastest lap of 45.1. And last lap from Simar with a 45.3, so not too far off currently. Usually settling down a bit in space, has a bit of a gap in front of him, and Calamite then overtook Janssens, of course, earlier in the previous lap, and they're about a second down from Simar, but Calamite might be able to do something in a few laps, as the last lap was about 10th quicker from Calamite compared to Simar. Calamite, the teammate of Alezerx for ZR Racing #1. The other ZR Racing are Glubczynski and Ozenfant. Ozenfant we haven't seen, but Glubczynski of course here today. And Samuel then also out of this race.
We're also going to see Anders / Twizzer. He's going to be he's under pretty good pressure from Apex Police right now coming down the back straight.
Apex Police earlier overtook Ace Rod, and now another fight between two Ferraris as Anders goes wide and Apex Police right on his tail then.
Quiet race for Anders. I haven't really seen him involved in anything. He's just kind of keeping to himself and slowly climbing up the ladder by other people's misfortunes.
Bit of a different line for Anders, and Apex Police who turned in pretty early seem to have quite a good exit speed though. In turn 2 and then turn 3 subsequently, and is clipping the inside grass. A bit wide goes Apex, having a look. Quite a tighter line for Apex Police. Out of turn 5 onto the snake bit, and there he goes. Under the bridge.
Yeah, it's really not a section of the track that's very easy to pass on.
The best thing you can do is try to keep pretty close and have a good braking and good line through the last couple of corners before the oak tree corner, and hope you can have a good exit and better exit than the guy in front. And pretty wide go Apex Police, tries to have a bit of space, empty space in front of him.
It looked like a pretty decent exit.
Tries to keep his slipstream, but he's pretty far away still. And Calamite then with the fastest lap, half a second quicker than Simar. We still watch with Apex Police and Willemsen. As this is a battle shaping up. And then a bit of oversteer for Apex Police. Unfortunately goes wide into the grass, and that loses him quite a bit of distance to Anders Willemsen. Meanwhile, Acerol lost another 2 places to Liddy Albanese and Alex Zerks. Acerol now in 22nd place. So it looks like not the strategy to be on this race today.
I'm also wondering if Rune is on some kind of different strategy as well, because he's considerably losing ground now on Calamite.
Yeah, let's see how that works out. Of course, it could be a difference in preparation. I'm not sure yet. And Timmy ASD on Phantom on the inside into Oak Tree.
Lambo power, you have to watch out now.
Yeah, he tries to hug the left side of the track. No, goes to the right side, or stays on the middle. What will Phantom do then? With his car side by side on Timmy. And that's quite a lot more speed than we see on the Lamborghini. And there he goes. Breezes past him. And on the outside, keeps it, just barely. But Timmy ASD finally has to give up the place and is now 12th, where Phantom is in 11th place. And
yeah, it's just so hard to keep up with those Lambos on the straights. You really need to get in front of him before you hit those points and really just try to lose him through Oak Tree.
Exactly, but he breaks very late the Steamy ASD on Phantom, and Phantom tries to cut down on the inside, and then there's not enough space. I don't know whose fault that was, but it might have been a racing incident. Very unfortunate for Phantom, who was doing very, very well in 11th place, and now in 13th place for him. Pasm then has overtaken him, and Werner Grift in Ferrari is right on his tail of Phantom.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He had the move too. He just went a little bit wider than I think he wanted to.
Last lap, Simar was a tenth quicker again than Calamy, so Simar then holding him off for the moment.
Rob Lewis,
yeah,
looking on Ronnie. He might actually get him here. He's got the preferred line.
McLaren not the car to have this race with these long straights. There's a couple of them, and Rob Lewis then seemingly an easy overtake for him for Supernova. Sorry. Yeah, that's Supernova. In fact, that is Supernova number 3. Teammates with Romain Mafina.
Apex Police makes the pass on Anders there. He caught back up.
Yeah, and sorry that we missed that, but of course he was shaping up earlier and then he lost a bit of ground and now he finally passed him. Pretty close on Max Wandel. Max Wandel not having the greatest of exit speeds. Again, we see a McLaren under attack from another car. On the outside though is Apex Police. That means he has the inside line for the next turn, and that's an easy pass for him. Lady Albanese now stuck between the hard tire of Cortex and the soft tire of Ace Rod. Did overtake Ace Rod earlier, but now Cortex seems to be a bit slower. Let's see what his lap times are. Pretty similar actually. Although on the last lap it was Cortex who lost about 2 seconds. Something might have happened there. Lubczynski then on Phantom. Phantom made a mistake. And now it is Lamborghini Power V10 versus Audi Power V10. Still about a car's distance between them, and it's quite a bit of slipstream then onto the end of the straight, into the roller coaster, squeezes him, does Lubczynski, goes a bit wide, can he keep it? No, he can't, goes wide, turns around, and then I think that was Apex Police, was it? Or, I'm not sure, no, sorry, that was another Ferrari, a bit confused for the moment, but yeah, very
Warner Drift, I believe, was who got unfortunately tied up in that.
Yeah, you're right. Well, they tried to give each other just about room, but he went in too fast.
Yeah, I think if he didn't hit the grass, he probably would have held on to that. But those tires get on the grass here, and it's just you're going for a spin. Yeah,
it looked like his rear tires as well, so he lost the control of the car. And Simar then pretty much going for it. We saw him clip the grass a bit on the edges of the track near the end of the snake bit. I'm trying to keep it clean. And roughly half a second between the two. Of course, Simar with 35 kilograms of ballast and Calamite with none for the moment. We saw Calamite earlier as a pretty solid midfielder, a bit towards the front even. But now third place for him, not too shabby indeed. And Zoltan very close on Bronson. And something we have seen time and time again is that in the midfield you get quite a few fights, but if you look at the drivers out in front, currently the 3 drivers of Simar, Calamid and Chacot, but especially Calamid and Simar now very close. But there's so much on the edge of the possibilities of what a car can do, it seems, that there's not much room for to fight, and it's very hard to get enough exit speed unless someone makes a real mistake and put the car on next to the other car. And Willemsen in 16th place, right behind Lubczynski. And at the same time it is Werner Grift and Max Wandel. Max Wandel pretty defensive. No major things happening for the moment, still roughly half a second between Philippe Simard and Calamid. Of course, once you get so close you get a bit of slipstream, but you also get some dirty air, and that's something that is actually quite a bit of a problem in these GT3 cars. The pit has been open for quite a while, about 15 minutes, and yet we have to see someone into the pits. No early pit stops, no undercuts. And still then Grift and Wandel fighting out for place 17. And we see 2 drivers going off. That is Willemsen as well as Wandel. But Willemsen then loses 2 places, and Wandel for the moment stays in front of Grift. But Blue is now, by the way, in 6th place. Has won 9 places since the start of this race. Lubczynski has lost 15 places, still driving though in 22nd place. Another driver who has been pretty poor in this qualifying is now doing really well in this race. In 15th place is Max Wandel, who's under attack from Werner Grift.
And Calamid and Simard, I'm not sure if... I don't think they're battling, but I'm not sure if Calamid's being held up, but Rune's made up actually almost a full second of time on them.
Yeah, their last laps were pretty similar. Overall, it looks like Calamid pace-wise has the edge slightly on Simard. But if you can't pass, well, then you're kind of stuck, aren't you? A bit of damage on Timmy, his car. Especially on the left side, I think. Or the... Well, let's have a look on the right side. He comes past. Yeah, there you go. Bit of damage on his car, and Lorenzetti in front of him. Lorenzetti turning in early. Timmy ASD turning in late. Can he have a better exit though? Pretty wide. Struggles to keep his car under control, and Calamid has lost about half a second then on Simard.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, because Rune didn't really catch up. I think Simard heard what you said, and he started to push a little bit more.
Oh, it is Max Wandel then who made a mistake, went a bit wide and spun, coming out of turn 3, rejoins the track right in front of Alex, tries straight out of the way. Alex has to correct and try to avoid him. It's debatable whether that was a safe comeback, but now he's under attack from ACRL. It's very understandable that you want to get back on the track and try to stay off the racing line, and I think he did pretty well. But now under attack from ACRL, and ACRL putting his car side by side on Max Wandel. Max Wandel was doing so well earlier. Has now lost about 7 places. They're now in 22nd place. And Simar now with the fastest lap, so there you go. Simar seems a very tactical driver regarding that. And I think now that the pit stops are, as Grubczynski runs wide, the pit stops are nearing, that Simar wants to make a bit of a gap between him and Calamite. And tries to control the pace. Grubczynski putting his car next to ACRL, ACRL, and overtakes him. And we have Lorenzetti and Team ASD, and Team ASD just took Lorenzetti then in turn 1. And Lorenzetti had to get out of that. And Willemsen fighting with Werner Grift. Again we see a Ferrari battle. Cortex is now won a few places, in 17th place. Right on the tail of Grift and Willemsen, of course.
Ooh, that's very close.
And just in front, as Calamite improves, just in front of these drivers we have Apex Police and Phantom. Phantom under attack from Apex Police. So Calamite is still roughly a second behind Simar, but did improve a bit and was 2/10 quicker on this previous lap. Apex Police runs a bit wide, no damage done though.
And it's going to be interesting to see now, because Simar still is within the, if he is going on a splash and dash strategy, he's still in striking distance of Charcot, if what we're assuming is correct.
Yeah, it's hard to say. The pit will be open for another 27 minutes. So Simar might possibly stop near the end of that, if he is indeed doing splash and dash. It seems very tight, I think, with these tires. I wonder how he will do it. We see Adder and Sultan very close. But I don't think the McLaren is ever going to win it on this straight from the Lamborghini.
No, it's like you said earlier, this isn't the track you want to be in a McLaren.
And you can see the Lamborghini just walking away. Though Adder able to brake really, really late. And I think
he's done a nice job keeping up with Sultan. It's surprising because Albert seems to get away on these straights, but then as soon as they hit the braking zone, the McLaren can brake far later, and he's right back with him.
Seems to be very much of a strength of the McLaren, as well as some aerodynamic downforce and grip in fast turns. Not too many fast turns, well there are, but they're all flat out for any car, so that won't give you an advantage in this car. What does strike me is that even though Charcot didn't look too quick in pre-qualifying, then suddenly he was there by the end of the qualifying session, and now he's out in front by 9 seconds, has been for a while, but still with 40 kilograms of ballast, mind you. Simar, of course, with 35 as well, but consistently faster than has Chacot been. Chacot is now doing 45 O's as well, same as Calamine.
Yeah, I think Charcot really benefited a nice start off the line, and he was able to get away from everyone else and just had clear track in front of him. I mean, that gap really hasn't changed a significant amount lately since now that the field kind of opened up. But I think Simard was more dealing with Rune behind him and then Calamine, and that kind of just gave Charcot the ability to just drive away with this.
We are seeing Sultan on the pressure from Adder. We saw them side by side on the exit of Oak Tree. But again, Sultan then being able to drive away by a couple of car lengths. And even though you might be able to brake later in the McLaren, it's very difficult to do that in that entry of the roller coaster bit. Apex Police and Phantom still fighting.
And one driver we haven't talked about, PASM, Pazm. He's up 10 positions from the start of this race, and he's quietly done that.
Currently in 11th place, or in front of Phantom and Apex Police is Pazm. Right behind Matteo Lorenzetti. There's quite a gap between them and Adder, as we're seeing. But Pazm pretty consistent, has won a place since the start of the race. Stayed out of trouble for the most part, I guess. And let's see if we can do a quick rundown through the order before we go into pit stop territory. It is currently Jacob Chacot then. We haven't seen much of him this race as he has been out in front by so much, but he's in first place by about 10 seconds from Philippe Simard in second place. And of course fighting for quite a while now with Calamite, or fighting well, they've been very close indeed. Rune Janssens has been closer to those drivers in front, has now lost a few seconds to them. He's 5 seconds behind, and we have Blame, who's under attack from Rob Lewis. Rob Lewis doing really, really well. Won 9 places in 6th place now, and let's see if he can make a move on Blame. And we have a pit stop from Sultan. Late braking then from Rob Lewis goes pretty deep, and Blame manages to undercut him and stays in front. So Adder behind them in 8th place. Then we have Lorenzetti fighting with Pazm. Pazm on the inside of him. Pazm then, very nice move. Though he goes wide, goes very deep and hits the grass and loses the same place again. Then Sultan to the pits, as well as Apex Police is now entering the pit lane, and we have Cortex going wide a bit. So other drivers who have stopped are Werner Grift in 20th place now, and Max Wandel. That's 4 or 5 drivers who have pitted, and a couple of others in pits. Currently Lydia Albanese, haven't seen much of him entering the pits.
Phantom jumped him going down the pit road there.
Of course, there's one way to gain a place. And car driving away. There's a Ferrari of Apex Police. But then Phantom and
I think Phantom did I think he did a splash and dash. He was out of there very quickly.
Yeah, Lily Albany still in the pits. It was a very long pit stop for him. Chuck got into the pits. Almost lapped those guys, and as well as Simar. So are they on different strategies or not? I want to keep an eye on them. And Simar then stopped right in front of Chacot. Might be a bit of a boring shot, but I want to see who gets out in front first, and it is Chacot indeed. So pure pace then for him.
Yep, no tricks involved.
Oh, and there goes Calamite. Calamite right behind Simar then. Calamite on the outside now. For second place, well, virtual second place. Calamid going very deep onto the grass, and Simar then takes his position again. And then we have other drivers involved who, well, pass him. And Pesum did not make his pit stop. But can he make life difficult for Calamid and Simar? Sultan gaining a few places back after his pit stop. He's now right behind Cortex. So ACRL deciding to go to the medium tire, probably a good choice I would say. And I would Sultan trying to overtake Cortex. And does so indeed. But Calamid and Simar still really close, really tight between the two. And we have equal fastest laps from Jacob Jacob at 45.0 and Calamid. That's of course right before we went to the pit stops. So Lorenzetti pits as well. Blame hasn't pit. Neither has Roddy Bronson. Neither has Ada. And if the app is correct, it looks like Simar did not change his tires, so was wanting to go for a shorter pit stop, but it ended up being a slightly longer pit stop compared to Calamid. But that means that he's now on the disadvantage, and you can see him struggling on his tires, as Calamid has a set of fresh boots, of course, but Simar does not. And that means that for about half of the race, we still have 33 minutes left. Simar will be under attack, will be in a disadvantaged position from Calamid. And Rune Janssens, Rob Lewis and Albert Sultan all changed their tires, all made a pit stop. So they are really fighting for position. And that might cost Simar a couple of places towards the end of the race. But can he keep it together? We will have to see. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm not entirely sure that he didn't change, though, because I don't think Calamid was too far behind him, and he would have definitely jumped him in the pit stop if he didn't take tires, correct?
I would think so. You're right. But the rule is, in the app that we're seeing, is that if a driver stands still for 20 seconds or more, it will show it as his tires being changed. So,
yeah, we'll have to see. We'll know if his lap times start to really deteriorate. But I think if Simar had kept the same tires, he would be well ahead of Calamid. But instead, he was almost he did get passed coming out of the pit lane.
Yeah, logically it would make most sense, and we'll just think that the app is giving some wrong information. And Simar then putting a bit of a gap between him and Calamid. Sultan on Blame. Blame pushed him on the outside. And Blame has made a pit stop as well. And Timmy ASD now into the pits. Blame on the defensive. Turn 4 and then turn 5. Turn 6, the start of the snake bit. Two Lamborghinis trying to fight it out. And if Sultan can keep close. And the difference between the red and white pit icon, it means that if it shows a red P, then the driver has made an invalid pit stop in some way. That could be speeding in the pit lane, or it could be teleporting towards the pits, and probably if you're looking at Ruvix and Pavlovic, they teleported to the pits before they left the server, so that's what happened. At headed then into the pits. He's standing still. Chacot already in front of him, and Simar and Calamite going past. And Chacot with a 44.9 then. So he's running away. Bit of a correction from Calamite as Simar's going a bit deep. That's a very good point there. And something that I saw discussed.
Blame off. Ran wide in T1, off track.
Like I was fighting, of course, with Sultan. But yeah, as I was saying, the pit boxes near the end of the pit lane have a bit of a disadvantage, and it was mentioned already, indeed, in the Discord. I think it was Simard himself who now had the disadvantage of that, though did manage to stay in front. But with such a small gap, like a second, that could be all the difference in the world between, well, in this case, second place or third place. And Simard desperately wanting to try and hold on to Chacot, of course, as they are very much fighting for the championship win this season. And Chacot in the overall championship has a... Is that right? Has a lead of 7 points, that is. And in the Server 2 championship has a lead of 8 points after being adjusted. So there's work to do between for Simar, but Calamite now under attack. Simar forces him into the outside of turn 1. Tries to make it very tight for Simar, but Simar placing his car very well. On the exit, bit of a struggle on the acceleration from Simar. Tries to make his car wide, a bit of oversteer has to correct. Does he go off? I think Calamite then tries to give back the place, but they did have a bit of contact. And Simar stays out in front of Calamite. Nice battle between the two drivers. And Timmy ASD went to soft tires. We saw Ace Rod having a very poor first stint, decided to go to medium tires, and now it is Timmy ASD who went to soft tires. I doubt it will do him much good, currently under pressure from Cortex, who is on hard tires. We see some drivers doing something different strategy-wise, but I wonder if it will do any good for them. We head back onto the onboard of Calamite, fighting still with Simar. Pass him in 4th place behind them, still has not made a pit stop. Might be able to do a late splash and dash as Chacot does a 44.7. And because it seems to be a bit quiet regarding fights just after these pit stops, let's watch them with Jacob Chacot, who is flying out there indeed, and 13 seconds in front of Simar and Calamite. Simar, of course, having to defend on Calamite, but still 44.7. On the previous lap he was actually it was a 47 for Simar and Calamite, and 44.7 then for Chacot. So that was 3 second, well 4 second almost, 3.5 seconds gain from Chacot. Look at his lines, taking all the width of the track and a bit more. Hitting the inside, hugging the inside curb. Very solid driving. Very controlled, staying on the inside on the exit of turn 1. As we see Calamid, and we saw them in the background there, Calamid and Simar. And Simar still placing his car on the inside.
Calamid caught some grass in the braking zone. I thought he was going to go. He did a nice job holding on to that.
The car is bouncing up and down on the curbs of the exit of turn 3. And when a Grift and Lubczynski fighting. One thing that Simar told me before this race is that he was running a pretty stiff setup, which seems to be working very well, at least for the Audi. Although, well, you could argue that I don't know what Jacot does to his setup, but it seems to be working for him even better.
Yeah, Seamart's doing a great job keeping Calamid behind him for this long.
Yeah, one slight mistake. He's been under pressure for so long now. One slight mistake and you'll lose, well, maybe that place and maybe even more places. Now that Rune Janssens is about, I'd say 4 seconds behind these this pair.
We should expect to see Pasm in the pit here soon. The pit window closes in 8 minutes.
That's what you would expect. Calamid having a look. Trying to use a bit of that sweet tarmac on the pit lane exit.
The one thing Seamart does that's really good, even when he takes the inside line, as soon as it looks like Calamid wants to try to get side by side on the outside, he just squeezes him so close to the edge of the track where Calamid he has to turn in so late and he just can't make anything happen.
Yeah, very, very solid placement indeed. So we have Jacot on 40 kilograms of ballast. We have Simar on 35 kilograms of ballast. Calamid and Pasm now in 4th place are not running any ballast as they are not far enough up in the first split championship. But Rune Janssens in 5th place is carrying 30 kilograms. Other drivers carrying ballast are Blame and Albert Sultan. Blame with 10 kilograms and Albert with 20. And then we have Max Wandel in 19th place currently with 15 kilograms. Lorenzetti going wide in the snake bit. On the outside goes Timmy. ASD. Can he do anything? As Eder meanwhile overtakes Ronnie Bronson, by the way. They are fighting near the end of this straight. And pass him now into the pits. And Timmy ASD still fighting with Lorenzetti. Lorenzetti able to hold on for the moment.
Rob Lewis up into 5th position now. He's having a really, really strong race.
Very solid indeed, has been able to keep out of trouble the Supernova driver. Rune Jansen's having a pretty lonely race. There's been a gap of about 5 or so seconds in front of him and now 3 seconds behind him. The Nassau Racing driver still running his livery from last season, I think. Usually had a teammate in Rens de Kok, but Rens de Kok now decided to team up with Simar. Rens de Kok not here today. So Rune Jansen's all by himself this season.
Yeah, I think there was some disagreements around car choice.
Probably, as we see Jansen's in the McLaren and Rens de Kok, of course, in the Audi. And Timmy Hayesd, wow, right in the diffuser of Lorenzetti. And Timmy Hayesd managing to put his car on the inside for turn 1, going over start-finish line. Braking on the grass is Lorenzetti, and he will be going wide. Indeed he is. Onto the grass he goes. And that will surely cost him quite some time. And then we have Cortex coming up behind him as well. So the soft tires are working out pretty well then in the end for Team Hayesd, at least so far. We saw in the first couple of races that the soft tire was pretty good towards the end of the stint. I don't quite remember what the temperatures were for the Spa race, for example. Might have been pretty similar to this, probably a bit colder. But soft tires holding on, and so far doing pretty well, unlike what we saw for ACRL and Vega, by the way, also on soft tires. Vega currently down in 23rd place. And Ronnie Bronson side by side with Albert Sultan, and Sultan in a drag race. Well, of course you win with that Lamborghini, the V10, overtaking the McLaren of Ronnie Bronson.
Yeah, it feels like we've watched Albert drag race McLarens quite a few times today.
Sultan has been driving this Lamborghini for a few seasons, I believe, and has been doing pretty well. And he's not the only driver doing pretty well with this car. Charcot indeed. 14.5 seconds now, as we are on 32 laps, with 17 minutes to go, and pit window almost closes, but I see that every one of the drivers has been into the pits. Except for a couple of drivers who are now out of this race.
Yeah, Charcot after the pit stop just really opened that gap up.
Last lap was a 44.9 for Charcot, and we have 44.8 and 44.7 for Simar and Calamy. And 45.2 all personal bests. 45.2 for Rune Jansen's. The tires are coming towards them, nearing the end of this stint as the fuel runs out, of course. But the track grip is now an optimal grip. So we'll likely see some further improvements, although I would imagine that Charcot has backed down a bit. I mean, if you're gonna make a mistake, you probably lose out quite a lot of time. No wall's pretty close, but all this grass, it's very hard to keep control of your car. So, well, if you don't need to, why would you? Still very consistent though. Only a tenth slower on the previous lap compared to Simar and Calamy. The last race of this season will be on the Nordschleife, but instead of the usual 75 minutes, it will be a 90-minute race. Nordschleife, of course, a very difficult track to overtake on. There's the GP bit as well, the Grand Prix Strecke, which might be better for some overtaking, as well as the long straight, of course. before we enter the GP track. And between the Nordschleife there will be Monza, also a very quick track, and we expect to do the Lamborghinis to do very well. Chacot, who has been on 40 kilograms for quite a while, well, I expect him to be the favorite actually of the Monza race. But for now we are here at the Virginia International Raceway with 15 minutes left in this race, this 75-minute race. And Apex Police and Cortex now fighting. Cortex, of course, on hard tires. Didn't, I presume, change his tires, so will now be under pressure from the guys behind him who are a bit quicker. But Cortex with track position.
Apex Police really on Cortex now, trying to force him into a mistake.
Riding his tail, he is. Cortex seemingly on the defensive. Yeah, he does. Tries to hold on all the way onto the inside. Apex Police force around the outside, makes a quick move. As they break.
Ooh, no contact there.
On the inside then, Apex Police on Cortex. A bit faster. It looked like maybe Cortex let him through, or it might have been an illusion. Cortex, of course, on the slower tire, does not want to lose too much time, as he knows he will be under pressure from the drivers behind him coming up. Lubczynski and Werner Grift were pretty far behind. And Grift and Alezerx then fighting. Into Oak Tree on the exit. Griff going a bit wide. Alezerx keeping it clean. Behind them, Phantom. Phantom has lost a couple of places earlier in this race. And Ronnie Bronson and Sultan. Well, still close, but it is Sultan who has the fastest car on the straights. Again, well, we keep saying it, but it doesn't change, does it?
Yeah, that has to be frustrating being in a McLaren today, following a Lambo like that. You just kind of get within striking distance, and then as soon as you hit the straight, all that hard work's gone.
Yeah, you have to drive very cleverly. It has happened to me in the past as well. It's my first season actually in ACRL. I drove in a McLaren, well, MP412C. Fighting with a couple of Ferraris who were a bit quicker out of the corners, and Sultan going a bit wide then. Chacot then again with the fastest lap at 44.7. And Ronnie Bronson right on the tail of Sultan, but is he close enough? Not for the moment, though he can brake late. Tries to have a look.
And Ronnie Bronson actually hitting his rev limiter there at the end of that straight.
Now this is where you can make a bit of difference. Now this very tricky last turn, but well, you can see just Sultan driving away pretty easily. A couple of car lengths he won by now. Not even going on the defensive. He knows that his car will handle it. But Ronnie Bronson braking very late. Trouble is, you still need to get past him. You need to drive a different line. You can't just drive through him. Many people have tried and many people have failed at that.
Yeah, and it's, you know, at this level with all these guys, I mean, these are, you know, some of the best in the league and, you know, probably the Assetto Corsa as a whole. And, you know, you're seeing it with Seymour, you're seeing it with Sultan. You're not going to be able to force those guys into a mistake with pressure. They're immune to it. So you really have to drive clever. You have to find kind of alternate lines through to make a pass because you can't depend on them to make mistakes.
Now 2.2 second gap between Apex Police and Cortex. And now Lubczynski is only 1 second behind Cortex. And of course we'll keep an eye on Cortex as he has a bit of a different strategy. Oh, and something I missed, I think, was Timmy ASD going out of the race. Was on soft tires earlier, is now decided to go into pits. That was 2 laps ago. And we have, what's that? Driver getting out of the way. Driver of ACRL in 21st place, so he's not fighting these chaps. And Vega then trying to make use of that. And somehow it seems that, I don't know exactly what happened, we'll hear it maybe later, that Timmy ASD got teleported to the pits. So that was the end of his race, very unfortunate. I don't think anything happened to him. Calamity right on the tail of Simar. Has a bit of slipstream, catching on. Not much trace left.
Oh, he's definitely got the run.
And Simar reacting to his move.
Oh, that's going to give Calamity the preferred line.
Squeezing him does he? And Simar braking very late. They touch again, again. Sabotage right through this bit.
Oh man, Seymour's giving him no space.
Oh, and there the drives go.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen, unfortunately.
Both of them trying to get on the track. Jansen's already won the 2 places, drive past them, and then we have Rob Lewis driving past as well. We have Adder quite on some distance. But yeah,
that's unfortunate.
It is. We saw then in one of the corners Calamite getting squeezed, and then he was out of position for the next apex, got into the grass, no grip of course, no way to brake, and ran into the side of Simar. But Simar kinda had it coming to himself when he was squeezing up. So we saw that earlier, didn't we, in previous races, that Simar was very aggressive on the defensive and tried to squeeze, and well...
I think it was Laguna Seca, and then Tomas had some incidents where, you know, Simar was squeezing him, and it led to an almost an identical situation as this. And unfortunately, you know, with this track, there's no... It's asphalt and then it's grass. And, you know, you get 2 tires on that grass and you're trying to brake. That's what's going to happen. You just totally lose control of the car. You can't slow down. Bad things are going to happen. And, you know, unfortunately, Calamite, I don't think he really had any space to even keep his car fully on the asphalt.
But, of course, sad it might be for Calamite and Simar. Ultimately, Calamite then lost 2 places, but the big winners here are Rob Lewis and Rune Janssens. Rob Lewis now won 12 places, is now in 3rd place. How about that?
Yeah, Rob Lewis might be driver of the day here.
We should do a little vote on that.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to, maybe next season we'll work on something like that.
I don't think Simar is making any friends right now. And Cortex and Lubczynski, well, fight was coming for some time. At the moment, Cortex holding on with his hard tires, but I don't think he'll be able to hold on much longer. So last lap for Cortex was a 46.3, last lap for Grubczynski was a 46.1. Fastest lap of Grubczynski was a 44.9, fastest lap of Cortex was a 46.3. So
we know Grubczynski has serious pace, as we saw in qualifying. I mean, he was, you know, for all intents and purposes, one mistake and he probably, in all likelihood, would have had pole position.
Yeah, who knows what would have happened, but that's a big if, of course. Unfortunately, he pushed too hard, and by his own fault went wide. As he goes on the outside of Cortex into turn 1, side by side, out of the corner as well, through turn 2. On the inside is Grubczynski, on the outside is Cortex, squeezing a bit. Cortex keeping it safe. And Cortex again.
Yeah, I think those hard tires are really starting to go, but with 4 minutes left, this is about the time where you can expect them to fall off.
Yeah, and we see Lorenzetti then coming up on Cortex, but then behind them is a gap of about 15 seconds to Werner Grift. So if he doesn't make any mistakes, he might be able to hold on to a 13th place if he's lucky, and otherwise a 14th place. Wide then is the Lorenzetti. We saw him do that earlier in this exact same bit of the track.
Yeah, that's a tricky turn to get right. You really want to find that sweet spot with your braking, but you know, if you mess that up, you could very easily be deep into the infield with a spinning car.
Bit of oversteer for Cortex, right in front of Lorenzetti. And Lorenzetti has to be patient here. And there you go. Doesn't have the best of exits through Hogpen. And didn't set up his line very well. So he has to wait for a bit before he can make an attempt on Cortex. And for a moment there I saw Lily Albanese at the back, but seemed to have been a glitch. Currently in 19th place for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but Seamart is now back in front of Calamide. I'm not sure if Calamide gave the position back.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I do know that that makes Adder, his perspective, quite interesting. Of course, he's on a similar strategy, but now right behind the two drivers, Calamide and Simar. So it looks like Adder is pretty much there on pace. He was quick in qualifying, and although he has had some trouble early in the race, is now slowly catching up again, a couple of places, and in 6th place now.
Yeah, I think once Adder kind of shook the nerves of being so high up in this split, now he's kind of put his head down, and he's driving a pretty good back half of the race.
One thing I like about this track is, as you mentioned earlier, there's either tarmac or grass, and they are really trying to use as much of the track and a bit more, so you can see often two wheels go into the grass, especially in those snake turns. Doesn't seem to be losing them too much time, but you want to be on the edge, of course.
Ronnie Bronson right on Albert going down the back straight.
He managed to hold on quite well has a look. But Sultan knows about his car, knows where to brake, knows the right line, and knows he's in the advantage. Pretty frustrating indeed for Ronnie Bronson for the moment. With the last lap we're on actually. Already. So much happening. In the S's now is Chacot then. Half a lap roughly to go. After 42 laps. A 26-second lead for Chacot with 30 kilograms of ballast.
Dominant.
Very much so. Solid race. Pretty faultless.
Ronnie Bronson is not giving up. He knows this is the last lap, and I think he is really putting the pressure on Albert now.
And with just 1.5 corners left for Jacob Chacot in the bronze-colored Lamborghini Huracan is the winner of today's race, round 6 of the Virginia International Raceway, and there he goes over the line. That's a very solid win indeed. Rudy Janssens pretty far behind, still in the roller coaster bit. We have Calamite and Simardan very close. Wonder if any penalties will be handed out, if any of the drivers will report the other one. So I don't think this will be over yet. Keep an eye on the post-race thread and penalty bits. But Ronnie Bronson also still right behind Sultan as Rudy Janssens goes over the line. In second place, Rob Lewis then very solid third place after he started 15th I think.
It's a great race for him.
Fourth place then for Simard for the moment. Calamite in 5th place. Then we have Eder, solid 6th place for him. Blame, 7th place. Haven't seen much of him late, but 7th place.
Great job by Albert through the roller coaster there coming down the end. Ronnie was really trying to push him, and he held on. Great job.
So there you go, Albert in 8th place, Ronnie Bronson in 9th place, then we have Passam going over the line in 10th place. Very nice result from him.
Yeah, that's a good league debut.
I think we have seen him in a previous race, but it's nice to see drivers that are relatively new to ACRL do well in the first split. We have Apex Police then in 11th place, Glubczynski in 12th, and we have Cortex in 13th place. Lorenzetti finishing in 14th, Wenegrift in 15th place now, about to cross the line. We have Phantom in a 16th place, and the other drivers were a lap down and have already finished the race. So mostly pretty predictable strategies. The drivers stop near the side of the track. Let's take a look at the race results. I hope they're working today. Luckily they are. So these are very much provisional, but that's another 100 points for Jacob. Very, very nice result, a very solid drive. Pretty much flawless. Nothing I think I have say about that. And well, I think the actions of today between Calamite and tomorrow is something to be discussed. And let's see if we can do podium interviews.
Yeah, I think the stewards are going to have their hands full this week.
And then the final driver to finish was Ruvix, I think. Did he know he stopped earlier? Oh, I'm confused. Let's go to a little trailer and we'll be right back and see if we can get someone down for an interview. congratulate Jacob Chakot for his massive win. Such a great result, another one from him. In fact, let's see how many wins he has. This race. Season, I must say. Well, I'll tell you something. He has a third place, a third place, a third place, a second place. Actually, that's a very, very much win for him.
Yeah, that was a pretty good drive to beat these guys by that much. Is no joke.
I'm getting
You sound like a robot voice going.
might be my upload for some reason.
It's both of us.
See if I can take a bit of a load off.
Came back.
Even the slow-mo videos seem to have a bit of trouble, but well, let's see if we can do an interview. We don't have Rob Lewis yet, but let me get Rune Janssens. I can do that. So right now, I dragged him in here in the broadcasting booth. Is Rune Janssens? Rune, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Finally, we get to hear your voice.
Yeah, it's been a while. I finally got the result I wanted, so.
Is it the best you can do, or is it even better than you were able to do? From what I heard, you didn't have the best options, and then suddenly you qualified there. Can you talk us through that?
I basically had like 6 laps of practice during the week. And today I did some extra laps to get the setup right. And then right before the race, I did an iRacing race, and I got wrecked out very hard. The best of motivation for this race, but I don't know, in qualifying, the coach kind of masked the problems I was having with the car. So that kind of boosted my pace way more than. And that's the best lap of my life, I think. Yeah, I should at the lower end, but I've never done a lap that good. I qualified P3 out of nowhere, which is really
Sorry for any problems. Trying to get to work. Video and hopefully we'll get something. Yeah, but aside from the qualifying, she had a solid pace behind Calamine and Timar. Kept with them pretty much all the race, and then having a little bit of a fight. Still there.
very consistently very average. I mean, my pace was like bottom end of top 10. My pace was like 45.2 at best, and all the other guys were in the 44s. So I don't know what happened, but I just drove consistently. So I don't know. They just kept dying all around me, and I just kept it on track, and suddenly gained like 2 places again. So
Yeah. Well, that is. I mean, you know, you have to be there first, and that's one way to do it. But I think, if I remember correctly, apart from that, you had a pretty lonely race, isn't it?
yeah, at the start I was able to pressure Phil because he was very slow at the start. I don't know. I thought he was backing me up into the cars behind me to like get the Lamborghinis to attack me and the Audi, because they were kind of the cars without ballast, so they had a good chance of attacking me on the straight. Especially since I had 30 kilos and I'm in a McLaren, so I was kind of worried about that. Especially in Oak Tree,
Yeah.
he was really backing me up, and I actually touched him on lap 1. He was that slow. Like he was like 20 kph down on me mid corner. So I don't know what was wrong with him at the start, and then he suddenly either he switched on or I switched off, and then I suddenly dropped back into the clutch of Calamite, which was kind of an issue because he was a lot faster than me. So that was worrisome, and then once he got by me, I tried to stay in touch, but they were just a tad bit quicker, like every lap, like a tenth or two. So I just drove my own race. Kind of boring, but it was the best driving-wise, it was the best race of the season for me, but not the most exciting.
All right. Well, you had another second place in the first round, because that was after penalties.
Yeah, that was kind of stolen. I think I was fourth that race, and then because I did what the mods like, kept it within the white lines, so I kind of got 2 places there. And then for this race, there were like no white line issues, so I should not move up today.
Well, yeah. So if you're wondering about incidents, you can keep an eye on the post-race threats and all that, and it will come probably later this week or by the end of next week. When is it?
Should be at the start of next week.
There you go. So yeah, I don't have any further questions. George, do you have any further questions for Rune Janssens today?
Yeah, you got any of those setups?
Yeah, sure, I'll send it later. But then you gotta promise to finish the race. Like, it works, but it's kind of sketchy.
It's debatable if I'll even start the race tonight.
Yeah, all right. I hope you do.
Nice job, though.
Need something to watch tonight. So,
speaking of setups, now that you mention it, I saw you discuss something about setups before the race in the Discord. Did you eventually use your own setup, or did you get some markers from other drivers, or did you get a full setup?
I kind of used what Albert said, like when it came down to suspension stiffness.
Right.
And then I just messed about for the rest in hoping to find something. And I never actually did on the medium tires. It was just the soft tires that kind of made the car come alive. So, I don't know.
So you did find some pace after that?
Yeah, like a half a second. That's what I found. Which kind of halved the gap to the Audi, so I was happy with that.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for finally having an interview, giving us an interview, and congratulations with your second place.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. But that was Rune Janssens. Trying to not touch anything. I hope the audio is working well. Do we have any other interviews? Maybe one more for good measure? Have a little short trailer and we'll be right back, hopefully. We heard the Porsche exit some corner. You know what? I'm just going to drag him over here. Let's see. So, with us right now, I don't know if he knows it yet, is Adder. Adder, can you hear us?
I think he's finding a mic.
All right. So he's finding a microphone somewhere.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
There is.
Yes, we can. So thanks for joining us. So what happened? Can you? Yeah. You started out really well in qualifying, and then it was a very chaotic race at the start, and then you managed to save it pretty well, I think. Can you talk us through it?
To be honest, in pre-qualifying, I was struggling. I was just not getting a good drive out onto the through Snake, and because that's just worth so much lap time if you can just get on the throttle a little bit earlier. And I was just really struggling with it. So I spoke to Soraya, my teammate who was in split 2, and stole his setup, drove that for a lap, and was like, well, this fixes half the problems, but I prefer mine. So I just last minute threw the two together, and it just worked. Like I chopped and mixed the two together. So in qualifying, I just suddenly found all of this extra pace. I have no idea where it came from. So it's fantastic. But then in the race, I hadn't practiced at all following other cars, and I just took too much of a bump into the final curve right behind Rune, and then just unsettled the rear of the car, and I straightened out the steering rather than spinning out, and then I was one wheel on the grass and just went for a big cruise round.
But then, and what place were you then? Do you remember?
I was in the middle of the field, like
Yeah.
11th or so. But I think a couple of people then span out, and I was then behind Rob.
Yeah.
For a bit, and was catching him, and then again just not being practicing following other drivers. I had a bit of a slide when I was really close to him in the fast left-hander, going over the crest, and then that gave Albert a chance to get in front of me, and then I just thought I was going to be stuck then. Like, I had a pace advantage on Albert, but I just couldn't get close at any kind of point where I could do anything about it.
Yeah, that's something we saw with Ronnie Bronson and Albert as well. McLaren versus Lamborghini, very difficult to pass. But I think you ended in 6th place, is that right?
Yeah, I, after those couple of early little mistakes, I drove pretty cleanly from then on. I was a bit scrappy at the pit stop, so I went longer than everyone else around me. And the 2 or 3 laps that I did extra just were not good ones. So I think I lost. That's when I lost touch with Rob. But I still came out with Albert and Ronnie Bronson and Blaine. But then all of them I passed because Ronnie I managed to actually overtake, but the other 2 I passed when they made their own little mistakes.
Yeah. All right. Well done.
Very happy with my 6th.
Congratulations. Well, you earlier mentioned the setup, mixing 2 setups together, but can you go a bit more in detail? I'm pretty interested in what those differences were and how you managed to get that to work.
Well, on my setup, like, I was fiddling around with it, and I was getting the same kind of lap times, whether I had 2 rear wing or if I had 5 rear wing. So I knew it wasn't anything to do with the aero.
Right.
What I was struggling with. It was all to do with the suspensions. So I tried fiddling around with it myself, but everything I did just made it worse. I think it's because I either tried to change too much at once, or it ended up like with so many things in kind of the wrong situation that I just couldn't fix it. So literally I drove Sarai and set up. It felt so much nicer, and it had too much wing on it. It wasn't turning in. So I was like, well, I like everything else on my setup. So I just copied all of the tire alignment settings and all of the damper settings.
Right.
We're on the same springs already, which was like the softest possible. So yeah.
So no ride height difference then, because if
he had his a bit lower, I think, but I left mine as it was because I kind of felt that was okay. I did have my front reduce the travel range on the front of my car before, because the bumps in these last 2 corners are a bit nasty.
Right. Well, sounds good.
It worked.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not often we see. Well, we haven't seen you in any of the Split 1 races before this race, but then doing so well, I find it really cool to see. So congratulations with your 6th place.
Thank you.
Tony or George, do you have anything to add?
No, it was a great job, Adder. It's awesome seeing you up there with those guys.
Cheers. I was so nervous at the start. Nearly crashed into Phil, I think.
Oh, who didn't?
It's all right, I missed him. I had to lift, so Rune got back in front of me. I think I would have had him otherwise.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And, let's watch out for next race. So that was Adder for us. And right now I'm showing the poster bit. Let's see if I can also show you the calendar. So in 2 weeks' time we have Monza coming up. That is the 17th of June. On a Sunday, of course. And then 2 weeks after that, the 1st of July, is the Nürburgring Nordschleife, a 90-minute race, the final race of the season. No extra points as far as I know. So, but still, every race counts and every race is very important. I would say after today, if he wasn't already, Jacob Chacot is pretty much the favorite, I'd say, for the championship. Simar, of course, very aggressive today. Let's see if that will cost him after the incidents. Calamite, I must say, drove a very, very solid race. Before this race was 12th in the championship, so he will probably gain a bit of a few places. But that's it then. Thank you so much for watching, if you still are. And I hope the audio was okay, and we'll see if we can iron out any bugs for next time. So, George, thank you very much for joining me as co-commentator.
Yeah, thanks. This was fun.
Great to hear. Yeah, so I'll leave you with this little trailer, and then I'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye. Surprise, surprise, we're still here. If you haven't tuned out yet, it looks like we have Rob Lewis. And there he is. Rob Lewis is with us here right now. Rob Lewis, after some scruffy final laps between Simar and Calamide, finished into a very solid, I think it was 3rd place. Rob, are you there?
It was. Yes, I am. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. Let's start with qualifying. How was qualifying for you?
Not too good. Usually I'm quite good in qualifying, but I wasn't very good today. I couldn't get anywhere near my PB, which I think was a 44.5. I think I got 44.9 in the end, so I qualified only in 16th. Wasn't my finest hour.
But then the race happened, and we saw a lot of trouble at the front in turn 1.
Indeed.
Did you manage to avoid everything then?
I think so, yeah. I went between 2 cars. I can't remember who they were. I think they sort of shielded me from most of the action, and then I managed to get through on the inside. I think I was up to 10th place by the end of T1 from 16, so it was quite nice.
All right, and strategy-wise, I think you were on the normal strategy, meaning 2 times medium tires with a change of tires during the pit stop?
Yeah, exactly.
Just as the drivers around you, but then you managed to stay out of trouble for the most part, as far as I know, and while the other drivers around you either spun off or got to tangle with each other, and you managed a very, very decent 3rd place.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how. I wasn't expecting that. I always hope for a top 10 finish, and I'd be happy with that, really. It's usually my sort of pace, top 15. But I was pretty happy with the 3rd place. Came out of nowhere.
And but you did have to do some overtaking.
Of course, yeah. I think I got past. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Blame. And I got past him after the big back straight onto the right hander there. I was quite happy with that move. It was one of my best moves. But yeah, I did have to work for it. It wasn't all plain sailing. But my tyres felt really good. I actually went to Baffle's workshop yesterday, which is a plug there for Baffle's workshop. Saturday, 6 o'clock British time. And I actually went yesterday, and I think that really, really helped because I did a few practice races. You just get used to it. It helps you stay out of trouble, I think. Helps you stay consistent.
Well, that's a good tip there. Yeah, Vafel's workshop. So that's a bit of a practice race then? How does that work?
It's just quite a good little system. There was only about 8 of us there, but it's just 2 30-minute races. I think 10-minute qualifying. And every 5 laps, you get a message that says bunch up, so the leader just bunches everyone up. So you really get to practice your racing.
Oh, there
should be more. If there was more people there, it would be ideal. But it was still a good practice.
Well, for anyone hearing this, is it every Saturday before the race then?
I think so. You'll have to ask Vaffle, but I think it's most Saturdays before the race. I think they do it most times. Okay,
so do check out Discord or the subreddit. There's usually a message somewhere floating around, and do join the Vaffle workshop. You get extra VAF points for that. So
Indeed.
Those are very important, of course.
I think Rob gets like 50 for mentioning it on stream.
I do. I'm exploding with VAF points now.
we have to ask the master himself. Of course, championship points are not nearly as important as VAF points. So you're, I think you're pretty much in the lead then for the VAF point championship, aren't you?
I've pretty much won.
Best result then today. I think previous race result was 7th place. I'm seeing.
Yeah, that was my best previous, I think.
So then jump up to a podium. Congratulations.
Jeez. I'll be at the top step next week.
All right.
2 weeks.
Top step.
Don't hold me to that. That was a joke.
Oh, well, I was writing it down. Okay, so Monza though next in 2 weeks' time, you're driving an Audi. We expect the Lamborghinis to do very well, so that was probably going to be Jacob and maybe Albert. But then Audis, do you think that will work well on Monza?
Yeah, it'll be a good car. It's got a good engine, so I think it'll probably be either second to the Lambo. But the 650S seems to be quite good everywhere, apart from the R. It wasn't the best car here today, but it was still more than can hold its own. But yeah, I think probably the R8 is just a good all-round car, I'd say, for most tracks, so you can't really go wrong with it. So it should be fine at Monza, but I'm not here at Monza myself. I'll be back for the Nürburgring.
Ah, all right. So, well, Nürburgring, I expect the Audi to be doing pretty well there, as it's pretty all-round car, as you say. So good luck already on the Nürburgring race then in 4 weeks' time.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for joining us. And congratulations.
Thanks to you two for doing the stream as well. I know you do it every week, and it's really, really good. I'm literally going to go and watch the stream back now. I think most people do after the race, and it really makes the whole of ACRL much better with the broadcasting. So thanks for doing that. And I'll see you next week or in a few weeks.
Hey. All right.
Nice job today, Rob.
Cheers. See ya.
So thank you for the flattering words, and then again I'll close off in 2 weeks' time. It's Monza race, and thank you very much for watching, and bye bye.